very warm welcome to today's edition of our tutorial. This is JK Clothing. Today we're going to learn how to draft the basic pants pattern for a female. These are the measurements we'll be needing. We have waist 25, the hip is 40, knee 16, ankle 13, outseam 39, inseam 27, and the crotch is 29. In case you've not had the opportunity to watch our tutorial on how to take the body measurement, we would put the link in the description box. And so you may visit the description box and then have a look at how we took the very detailed, in-depth measurement on both men and then women. So today we're going to start. We first have to draw a line that represents the starting line. And so we're starting from here. Now, the length is the same as the outseam, which in this case is 39. And so since we're going to fix our waistband, which is going to take 1 inch, we would subtract the 1 inch from the 39 to give us 38. And so this is where 38 lands us. We'll scale this off. The next step is to draw our inseam line. The inseam was 27. And so we start from the ankle towards the waist line. And we mark 27. And we square that off as well. Next, we locate where the knee would be. And so we do that by dividing our inseam and our length. That is the ankle line. We divide it into two. Whatever answer we get, we add 2 to 4 inches to it. It depends. We add 2 to 4 inches to it. And so this is 27. We divide it into two. We have 13 and a half. We are adding 3 and a half to it to make it 17. The next step is to deal with this very portion, which is where our inseam ended. So this inseam is what gives us the crotch depth. The crotch depth. Bear in mind, we have the crotch depth and the crotch length. What we measured was the crotch length. The difference between the outseam and the inseam is what gives us the crotch depth, which is the distance from the waist all the way to this very line. And so we divide the hip, this is the same as the hip line. We divide it into 4. And so the hip was 40. Divided by 4 gives us 10. Then we add 2 inches to it for which serves as our crotch extension. And this is for our crotch. Okay. The measurement we take, that is the hip divided by 4, it's the same measurement we take to the waist. And we mark this. We will then subtract half from it. This then becomes the center front for our pants pattern. So then we join the center front point we've got in here all the way to where we divided our hip into 4. The next step is to move from this point to the top by 4 inches. And then, with the help of a curve, we join these 2 points together in a concave line. The next step is to divide the waist into 4 and mark it here. So the waist is 25 divided by 4 then gives us 6 1/4. We add a seam allowance of 1 inch to it. Bear in mind, with the front pant pattern, we do not add seam allowance to any of the parts apart from that of the waistline. The next step is to move from this crotch depth line 2 inches upwards, side. That is on the side seam area. That is where our waist joins the hip. This is very standardized. The next step is to divide our hip divided by 4 plus our crotch extension. We bring the same thing to this knee level and then we divide it into 2. And so we had 10 plus 2, which gave us 12. We bring the same 12 inches to the knee line and then we locate half of it, which is 6. But then to get the knee point, we move towards the side seam by half of an inch. And so it then becomes 6 1/2 towards the side seam. We do same for the ankle. It was supposed to be 12 divided by 2, which gives us 6. And then we move towards the side seam by half. And so this, we're not using this, we are not using that. Instead, we are using the other ones remaining. Now we come to the knee. The knee measurement was 16. And so we divide 16 into 2, and then we have 8. 4 inches on the side, 4 inches on this other side. We go to the ankle and then we do the same. The ankle measurement is 13. Divided by 2 gives us 6 1/2, meaning 3 1/4 on the side, 3 1/4 on the other side. With this, we draw a line from the ankle straight to the knee and to the hip on the side seam. This is joined straight. We do same for this side, the inseam. This is straight. From this angle, we join in a curve. It comes in a convex and a concave to be able to give us the protruding hip area. And then we join the knee to the crotch extension, the front crotch extension. Yes, and so this is what gives us the front pant pattern. We're supposed to add our hem allowance, but then for shortage of the paper I'm using, I'm to end here. But then when we're transferring this onto our fabric, we would remember to add our hem allowance to it. After doing this, we will take half of an inch from the center front waist and then we mark all the way to the side seam, but then we will not cut it off for now. This is then joined to the side seam. So this then gives us the front pant pattern. We will cut this out and then move straight to cut the back pattern. In drafting our back pattern, we place the front pattern on a wider sheet of paper where we leave not less than 2 inches on the top here and then excess also at the back where the inseam is. What happens is that the side seam for both the front and the back will be the same, and then the difference would always go to where the inseam was. And so what you're going to do right now is to trace the side of the front onto the back pattern. Next, we extend the knee line, the ankle line, and the crotch depth line all towards the inseam point. Here, we add 2 inches to the ankle extension, 2 inches to the knee extension, and then 3 inches to the crotch extension we did here. When we come to the top here, we extend the center front line by 1.5 inches upward. And then we place our tape measure from that very point to the side seam. And we lift it till it gets to our 1.5 that we marked earlier. At this point, we add 1 inch, which will serve as our dart that we're going to take out. We then would join that very point all the way to the waist of the front. The next thing is to draw a line from the crotch extension here all the way to the top. Just as we did for the front crotch, we do same for the back crotch. The next thing is to draw a line joining the ankle to the knee and from the knee to the crotch extension. This is worthy of notice. We are going to join the inseam of the front pattern and then the back inseam together when we are sewing. And so it means if we are to sew these two, it will be the same, as in the length will be the same. But then if we are to join the front inseam and then the back inseam at this very point, you see that this is where the front inseam will get to. That is because of the 3 inches extension we did at the back. It makes the back longer than that of the front. And so we'll mark this very point. That is from the knee all the way to the front crotch extension. This is where it gets to. And so we refine our line to include the new point we have taken. And so this becomes the correct crotch that we're going to use. Let's mark the side markings so that we'll be able to join them to this very line. Okay, so this is how we come by our basic pant pattern for the female. So right now we're going to cut this. And after we are done cutting the back pattern, we would as well cut this shape off. We left it at first because it was going to guide us to get our 1.5 inch here. Something also is worthy of notice. We measured our crotch and then we had 29. And so that 29, it means the front crotch plus the back crotch plus the waistbands should sum up to the 29 that we measured. And so let's measure the front crotch. We're not using this, we're using that. And so it's 11 and a half. 11.5 inches. And we measure that of the back as well. And so for the back, we get 15 inches. And so if you have to add the 15 inches to the 11 and a half, we get 26 and a half. We get 26 and a half. Bear in mind that we're going to cut 2 inches waistband and then we'll stitch on. By the time we are done, we would be left with about 3 inches. For both the front and the back would have 3 inches. And so if you have to add 3 inches to this, it means we're going to get 29 and a half. Meaning, if we are to fix our waistband and then we also sew our inseam, we should have our 29 that we measured. And so 29 and a half is perfect for this very pant we're going to sew. Secondly, if after taking this very measurement, we realized that it wasn't up to the 29 that we wanted, that's the measurement we took. What we could do if we want to make it larger is to extend this very line further backwards. That is the crotch extension. We could extend it further backwards and then we join it to the knee, and that would make it longer. If we are to make it shorter, because probably what we got was way bigger than what we expected, we would rather come inward. Instead of the 3 inches we are done, we could go like 2.5 or 2 3/4 till we are very sure that we're getting the same crotch length that we measured. Thanks for watching. We're very grateful, and I will be expecting you in our next video where we'll go do the sewing and putting the various pieces together. Thank you very much.